One of my issues with Chattanooga is that people here tend to have a very neoliberal understanding of labor and of history, which isn't their fault. I think like that's how education often works, which I think is on purpose, to frame history as if nothing was ever fought for. But in reality, like, we didn't have the weekend, we didn't have 8-hour work days, we had child labor. All of these things changed because people went on strike. Like, people died in Chattanooga just for walking around on the picket line. So I see that as a form of martyrdom, and I think it's important to keep that memory alive. They risked their lives and sometimes even lost their lives so that we could have a good life now. But I think like Tapestry especially is exciting for people to see themselves in because it feels historic, it feels ancient. So I think it like affirms to people that they're part of history and they're doing something like really monumental and not just something that will affect them, but that's gonna go into labor history and affect a lot of people. I started working on a piece about Volkswagen just like alone in my studio based on my observations as a community supporter. I went to the rallies, listened to the workers speak and the organizers talk about how it was going. As it progressed, it just like started to catch people's attention, and the UAW became really supportive of it, visited my studio, and were just really happy that I was doing the work, and then invited me to bring it to the last community rally before they announced the victory. I added the Palestine flag because right around that time, they were one of the first unions to really come out publicly against the genocide in Gaza. And this "You Are Welcome" sign, this is a slogan by the UAW. It's just them being cheeky about like they're fighting on behalf of workers, giving them something that they would say thank you for. This one is the first one of the historical tapestries that I'm making about Chattanooga. So it has to do with the 1934 National Textile Strike. And it was this very like family-friendly, peaceful assembly in front of the mill. And the police were there too. They were watching the parade. These company men came down and started shooting into the crowd. Everyone had to get on the ground basically, and it kind of looked like the company had broken up the parade and essentially broken the spirit of the strike. But one of the striking people stood up and started singing, and they used this song as a way to just rally and eventually got the whole parade to just stand back up. And they were singing "We Shall Not Be Moved." Yeah, the piece being called Miltown is also like a way that I'm connecting it to the present. We still live in neighborhoods that are modeled after Miltowns. And I was just thinking about that as a social design. It's hard to really talk about it before it's done, but what I do have in here so far is the automatic fare register is here, and this is like the object that kicked off the Carmen Strike. It's like a form of automation that the streetcar drivers felt like were taking their jobs away and also making it more difficult for them to do their jobs. So it was a huge source of agitation. And then the "I Walk" sign, that was the slogan of people who wanted to support the strikers. So when the trolley car strikers walked off, they brought scab drivers, which are people who are willing to work during a strike. And in defiance of that, people in Chattanooga started walking to work, and they wore these buttons that said "I walk." I think like often this place feels like it has no history after the Civil War, and I want people to realize that there's a lot more precedent here for labor than we realize. And yeah, I hope it grows class consciousness. I hope people see themselves in the work and feel like they're part of this ongoing timeline that's not complete.